I'm Dr. Bill Eickhoff. I'm a cosmetic dentist up in North Palm Beach, but I'm also a founding member of the John Maxwell team. For people who have never heard of John Maxwell, he's the #1 leadership guru in the world, rated by Inc. magazine and American Management Association. I partnered with Michael to bring more value to our membership and guests, and my job is to do a leadership concept or principle that ties in with our speaker for the day. So, has anybody here sold a company for $150 million? All right, it's going to be a leap of faith here that I can bring some value for you. Dennis is a patient of mine, and I first met him through his wife, who is I guess the vernacular would be trophy wife, and she's the sweetest person. She's one of our favorite patients. And I met Dennis initially because he was the money man. And nature of the business that I do, a lot of the stuff I do is discretionary, which means you don't have to have it done, and then it costs a lot of money. Plus, I'm dealing with a demographic of people that don't like going to the dentist. So if you stop and think what I do for a living, I got to talk somebody into doing something they don't want to do that's going to hurt and cost a lot of money. What's the problem? Now, when Dennis came in, and he ultimately became a patient of mine, and we were talking, and I said, you know, you really, do you ever speak? He looked at me and said, yeah. I said, well, I'm involved with Leadership Business Council. Would you ever consider coming in to speak to us? He said, yeah, sure. He says, I'll drop a book off that I wrote. So he dropped off the book for me, and that book is called "Wanna Shine, Mister? 10 Cents." And it's a story of how he started from very humble beginnings and became a titan of industry. Now, he came out of Eagle River, Wisconsin, and he was gifted with sports, that he was very talented athletically. I think he had like 16 letters in high school. I don't know if they still award letters in high school for athletics. But then he went on to letter 9 times in college. So here's somebody that's in college that is playing 3 different sports that he excels at. He has 2 jobs. He's married with 2 kids at the time?
4 children, 11 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren.
All right. But he didn't have all that while he was in college, though. So, I mean, the guy has got unbelievable stamina. But when I was reading the introduction for his book on the back, he said, as an early student of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, his focus was intense on achieving goals after quantifying what he wanted to accomplish and when it was to be done. Well, that got my attention because my business associate, Chet Tart, and I are, we've drunk the Kool-Aid for Think and Grow Rich. How many people here have heard of the book Think and Grow Rich? Okay, now keep your hands up. Now, if you bought the book, keep your hand up. Now, if you read the book, keep your hand up. All right, well, we got a good audience here today for this. Now, for the uninformed, Think and Grow Rich is considered the granddaddy of all personal growth and success. A survey was done of self-made millionaires, and everyone had attributed their success to Think and Grow Rich. No, I got mine here. Now, Think and Grow Rich was published in 1937, so it's 80 years old now, or 79 years old. And this is my book from 1983. Say again? Thank you very much. This book was written by a guy by the name of Napoleon Hill. Now, Napoleon Hill was a cub reporter at the turn of the century, and he landed the choice plum interview with Andrew Carnegie. Now, this is not Dale Carnegie of How to Win Friends and Influence People. Andrew Carnegie was the founder of U.S. Steel, and it was said at the time that he was 4 times the wealth of Bill Gates. His company built the mines and the mills and the factories that started industrial America. It was a 3-day interview, and by the end of the 3rd day, Andrew Carnegie was so impressed with Napoleon Hill that he challenged him to write a book about how successful people think. And Andrew Carnegie didn't pay him for this, but for the next 20 years, with the use of Andrew Carnegie's Rolodex, he interviewed 500 of the most successful people in America. So he interviewed 4 sitting presidents. He interviewed Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Harvey Firestone, the Rockefellers, Kresge, Wrigley's, and he distilled over a 20-year period this book here. And he came up with 15 principles that these successful people did to become wealthy. And the 10th principle is something called the power of the mastermind. Now, the mastermind is something that all of these successful people, when they were faced with a challenge or an opportunity, they would convene a group of 8 to 10 people, and they would attack a problem or an opportunity. And invariably, it's like a third mind would appear. Now, I'm not going to go metaphysical on you, but the idea here is that, when you hook up batteries in a line, that they become more powerful. That's what happens when you get people of like mind in the same room. So Chet Tart and I do masterminds from this book, Think and Grow Rich. So you can see where I'm starting to track with Dennis, because I see somebody that's very successful, and he attributes his success to this. Tony Robbins, I think you probably heard of Tony Robbins. He lives down here now. Tony Robbins says when he read this book, it was a life-changing event for him. So part of what we try to do here is to bring value to our clients here and our members and guests. And it goes beyond just leadership training. It talks about what's going on in your mind and how you can be. You remember the book The Secret that came out with Oprah Winfrey? That's where this came from this book here. So there is a secret to wealth, and it's the idea here that what the mind can conceive, the body can achieve. Now, tracking, I'm trying to connect all these dots that are going all over the place. So I get involved with the John Maxwell team 5 years ago. And the president of the John Maxwell team is a guy by the name of Paul Martinelli. And some of you may know Paul. The reason you may know him is he was the Entrepreneur of the Year in Palm Beach County in about 1997, 98. Now, he's a classic stuttering high school dropout. He was so desperate for a job that he had to create his own job. He had $200, so he bought a vacuum cleaner, and he had a bottle of Windex. And he would go door to door in office buildings asking if he could clean their office. He built that with the principles that he got from Think and Grow Rich into a multi-million-dollar company that he sold about 10 years ago. Now, the way he was exposed to this is one of the clients that he had who's cleaning his office was a millionaire guy that would strike up conversations because the guy would be working at night when Paul was cleaning the office, and he gave him a copy of Think and Grow Rich. So Paul has read this book over 1,000 times. And when he's lecturing to us, he's got this paperback book that's held together with rubber bands because he's read it so much. I've seen this guy give a 2-hour dissertation on one sentence from the book. Now, Paul Martinelli hooks up with a guy by the name of Scott Fay who owns Treasure Coast Irrigation. You've probably seen it in the north end here. They take care of all the big properties on Jupiter Island, and they take care of condominium associations. So they start a mastermind, and Chet Tart is in the first mastermind with these guys. Now what happens is that Paul Martinelli starts talking to Scott Fay, and he finds out that Scott Fay does the landscaping for John Maxwell's house. He says, let's get in front of John Maxwell and see if he wants to do something. Now, John Maxwell's pitched all the time on doing joint ventures, but this particular time that he was approached with, timing is everything, and they started exploring the idea of putting together a coaching team. So now we have I'm licensed to teach the John Maxwell content, and most people get involved with the John Maxwell team because they want to start their own business, teaching leadership development. Well, where Paul Martinelli comes into play now is that he is teaching Think and Grow Rich in masterminds. The business model for growing the John Maxwell team is doing masterminds. So for the last 5 years, there hasn't been a month that I haven't been doing at least one mastermind teaching from the John Maxwell Library. So today, Chet and I are working over at Mayor Muyo's office with her leadership development team. This is all the result of the concepts that we learned in Think and Grow Rich. So my goal here today is I want to challenge and inspire you to, if you've got this book, reread it. And what's coming through loud and clear when Chet and I are doing these masterminds is that at the end of the chapter it says go back and reread the chapter before it. So it's like it's never ending. we can't finish it. But the people that we have involved in our masterminds, I've got people driving from Wellington to Jupiter at for a 7:30 meeting in the morning, and some of our participants in the Think and Grow Rich Mastermind are in this room today. So we're going to be starting up another one soon, so we want to just encourage you, if you have some interest in it, let us know. So winding this up here, I forgot to tell a joke that I was going to open with. So at the I want to give you guys takeaways, so if I tell the joke at the end, that'll at least be your takeaway, that you remember this joke. So true story, one of my best friends is very wealthy. And it seems like everything he touches turns to gold. So he gets a call from his attorney. He says, hey, Bill, he says, I got some good news and I got some bad news. He says, what's the good news? He says, your wife just called me and she said that she bought 2 pictures for $5,000 and she thinks that they're worth about 15 to 20 million. And like everything he touches. And he said, that's great. He said, but you said there was some bad news. He says, what's the bad news? He says, it's a picture of you and your secretary. So, I want to give it back to Michael. So at least remember that.
Thank you, Bill, for that.